that's the one thing. Kevin Tubbs, was Wahoo McDaniel's chops as painful as they look? Yes. Everybody that ever said anything, we got chopped by him when we were a kid.
Yeah, Wahoo would start coming at us, and we would run.
Ooh.
We wouldn't stand around. He said, "Well, why are y'all running from me?" I said, "Well, you stay right over there. We're okay. Just say hello, and we'll be all right."
He chopped us one time at the TV station at WTBS. Well, it's WTCG at the time.
TCG 17, yeah.
Not TBS yet. But, man, that guy, he hurt us. Can you imagine what he did to Johnny Valentine? David Lawson saw one of Gordy's last matches, thinking in 801 in Athens, Tennessee. Ronnie was a promoter. I think Jack might have been there at the National Guard Army in Athens. Yeah, we've had our difficulties in buildings, and we can go into that one day of the problems we had in 1996. It was one problem after another with buildings. It was not fun. We got knocked out of the Memorial Auditorium the first night we were there. Then we got closed down in Cleveland, Tennessee by the city. So, it just, and then we moved to McDonald, Tennessee, if you remember, and that was horrible. That nobody even knew McDonald, Tennessee existed. Larry Fred Ottman said, "Hey, KayFabe,
what?
Does that even exist anymore? I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if
she died a long time ago, I believe. I believe she's been dead for a while, and
I think so. I remember one time Tracy Smothers, we were up front selling merchandise. This was 1987, 88, I believe. It might be 1987. And so we're up there, and this lady came up, and she said, "I know everything, Tracy's going on in the wrestling business. I know it all. I know everything's going on." He says, "I know Joyce Crable. I know when she throwed all these wrestlers." And he looked at her and said, "Well, do you know who KayFabe is?" And she said, "Well, I don't know who she is, but I know."
Yeah, I know Joyce Crable. Tell me I don't know.
Oh, that was something. Jason Weeks asked, he said, "Brett, which was better time between Mid-South and Continental?" I don't know. I'll let Rodney answer this, and I'll.
1984, you couldn't beat them, and in fact, Mid-South could have beaten anybody in 1984. But in 1986, Continental was on fire. So it was just, it just depends on the time frame. Fact of the matter is, we went back to Mid-South after the 1984. Back in the UWF days, and it just was not the same place at all. I mean, Bill Watts pretty much has stepped back, and it wasn't the same company at all. But as far as what was the best time, 1984 Mid-South, 1986 Continental.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those 2 years were very good. The UWF TVs were great.
Yeah.
Ken Mantell was booking those, and I think people have a tendency to think that Eddie Gilbert booked it, but I don't know that Eddie Gilbert ever booked at that time when they were doing that. Ken Mantell was the one that booked the majority of the time that was going on, and he had some great televisions. I mean, he had the end where you want to watch it the next week. I mean, he produced probably some of the best television I think I had watched up to that point, as far as episodic television to make you want to watch
it was like if you went to the house shows, it was like watching two different shows. We even commented about that. We got some heat as normal, but that's what you are. You're honest. What do you think of the show? Well, it was only as good as the TV show. I mean, come on.
Michael Hayes was the one of the I don't know. I guess they called him Aegis at the point because he wasn't an assistant booker, but he was taking care of the show in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we said, "Man, that's the boringest thing I ever seen." The only match was any good was the missing link with Dark Journey and John Tatum with Dark Journey. The rest of them were horrible. Even their matches were horrible. They made no sense, and they told no story. And
it didn't have anything to do with the TV show itself. I mean, it was a disconnect there.
Come on, Jack. I'm still refereeing at the age. Now
there's three numbers there. I mean, there's three numbers. That must be at least.
I'll just leave that one alone.
Man, Larry Brockpenny's 100 years older.
100 years old.
At least 100. It could be 109.
Larry, if it makes you feel better, I did a spot in Rome, Georgia back in December where I let a guy, I'm the commissioner, general manager role there, and I let a guy spear me, and it took me from the middle of December till after Christmas to be able to get out of bed. So, I'm done.
No more taking bumps for Jack Lord.
No.
And I'm not, I've never really took that many bumps in my time, and I don't want to take any. So
Had all I want.
Fred said, young talent emulate what they see on TV. Yes, sir.
And older talent did as well.
Mm-hmm.
As anybody, I will give an example. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Wendell Cooley. You remember Jim Duggan would grab the rope and do the stomp? Well, not until Wendell Cooley saw that did he start doing it. And then all of a sudden, he comes to Continental, and what does he do? He does the stomp.
And not only did he stomp, one night he did Wrestling 2's knee lift. He did Scott Armstrong super kick. Probably somebody else's finished during the.
I took all that from Wendell. At one time, I took all that from Wendell.
Wendell Cooley, great wrestler. We're not trying to knock you, Wendell, if you're watching this.
Oh no, I love Wendell. Wendell was a dream to work with.
Yeah, he was great, but we're just telling the truth. You used people.
Yeah, you stole people's stuff.
So I mean, we're just telling you the truth of what you did. And
he did do the Hulk Hogan leg drop. Now we have to give him that.
Now he might have done the ear thing. I'm not.
He might did he? Okay.
I'm not sure. He may have done that. I don't know. I know Wendell one time decided he was going to change his music from When Heaven Is a Lot Like Dixie to I can't remember the name of but it said something about keep your hands to yourself. Georgia Satellites did it. And I mean, them people, I told them, I said, well, that people just got quiet. They didn't even say nothing. I said, I found out one thing about you, Wendell. You're not over, the song is. I kid with you, Wendell. He did. He was very good. He had great matches with Buddy Landell, had great matches with Dutch Mantel.
I loved working with Wendell.
Yeah, he was good. You know, now I didn't always get along with him, but you know, you got to know Wendell. And once you got to know Wendell, he was a pretty good guy. All right, let's see. Let's make sure we got angles. Yes, I agree. I don't see angles now. I don't see something. I'm not for sure they know what they're going to do right now from week to week. I just think they got a dartboard back there and they're throwing it and they said, whoa, that looks like what we're going to do right there tonight. I don't know that they've got angles. I don't know that they're developing. I
think that they do, but if they don't get an immediate response from what they plan, they change it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the thing with the way we used to do it is we would give it time to build. You know, yes. You know, we were also flexible. You know, I remember Bill Dundee talking about, you know, he knew what he wanted done 8 weeks down the road, but if he had to change which direction to go to get there, he would.
Well, you know, Nick Gulas was good at that because Nick Gulas, Dad was refereeing. This is earlier when he was refereeing, and Nick Gulas, he was sitting there and he was watching the matches, and it was a tag match up there. And I remember it being a tag match because Dad said, but I don't remember who was in the ring. And he said, "Hey, boy, come over here." He said, "What do you see? What do you see out there?" He said, "Well, I see whoever it was wrestling when they getting some." He said, "No, I ain't what I'm talking about. What do you see out there?" And he still didn't get what he was talking about. And he said, "Well, I want you to look out there." He said, "You see them empty seats sitting right there?" He said, "You see those empty seats sitting right there? And way up top, if you look, there's some empty seats way up there in the top." He said, "I'm going to go back over here." I think Lynn Rossi was the booker. He said, "I'm going to go back and tell Lynn Rossi that don't you dare put that match on the main event next week because it didn't draw this week and it certainly ain't going to draw next week. You can put it in your semi, you can put it in your third match, but get me another main event because last week those seats were sold." I think that's missing in wrestling today. I think they just, you know, if they're going to push, it's the sad thing, if they're going to push a certain wrestler, they just keep on pushing them regardless if he gets over or not sometimes.
More like regular television. You know, if you're watching Arrow or Black Lightning, that's the same concept, and they're not going to change till the end.
This is true. Mike Schaefer, territories are the best. Yes, I would agree. I think Jack would agree. The territories were good. Now, they were not. They were not always great. Now, do all of us agree that the territories were not always great? There was a time that the territories wasn't as good some months that they were other months. I think that was any wrestling. I mean, we were in Georgia, and Georgia would do bad for 4 or 5 months, and then it would start doing good for about 6 months. So there was always bad times. Don't y'all agree?
Right.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that.
Greg Evans said, occasionally shock them. Yeah, I'll tell you, if you could shock them and actually have a good wrestling match, that would be a shock.
Yeah.
that would be very shocking for people. I would rather go to a good local indie show. I think some people have great matches. If they don't just watch Monday Night Raw and say, hey, that's what we're going to do this week. I mean, it would be.
Well, that's what we were talking about. The demand. I think there's like he was talking about, a thirst for being at the show instead of watching on television.
Greg Evans must move talent every 4 months. I agree with him. That is Wahoo deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not in the WWE Hall of Fame.
No, I don't believe so.
Wow.
And I don't think he's in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame either, which to me is the one that really matters.
Greg Rice said, wrestling in the Nick Gulas days was better and more real. Today's is just a decent wrestling and wrestlers that are great on the mic. Yeah, I mean, Nick Gulas had great wrestling, and it was believable. And I believe you could do a believable product today. I think if Vince would use his network to produce a completely different show, I know why he doesn't want to do it on USA Network. I know why he doesn't want to do it on Fox. He's producing a show that he told him he's going to produce. But try to produce something on your network a little different, a different type of product, and see if it catches on. I mean, you've got the network, use it. And not just for you got all that space, use it with a different product. Jackie Fargo, love those days. Jackie Fargo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Classic.
let me tell you something, Pally. There was no better than Jackie Fargo. My dad, he loved Jackie Fargo. That was who he looked up to. And I tell you, him and his friend dyed their hair blonde. And they would go to school and they would do the Fargo strut at school. And they one time decided that they were going to do the big move on people that the Fargos was doing. And that was the double pile driver.
Double pile driver.
So they picked the kid up and double pile drived him. And, well, there was a rock sitting there stuck in the guy's head. So needless to say, both were suspended from school, but he loved Jackie Fargo. That was the Fargos was their person. Charlie Platt was the best in Continental Wrestling. Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes, he was. I like Gordon Solie, and I thought Gordon Solie was really great, but I thought that Charlie was. I think he fit it much better than Gordon Solie did. Even though Gordon was good, I think Charlie, he fit it much better. Greg Rice, Kevin Tubbs, he was one of the best wrestlers in the ring and on the mic ever. If they would have allowed the language back then, he would have made Stone Cold look bad. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, and he was true. He was truly that way. There's a lot of stories we could tell about Jackie Fargo. Dad has he told us, me and Rodney, many stories go down the road. Maybe we need to do a show one time of just Jackie Fargo stories because he did some crazy stuff. Mike Shaver said, "Dirty Larry Brock." And now I'm not.
Larry's been called out.
He's been called out by Mike.